the previous video because of the fact the sound quality was very horrible, to say the least. All I'm going to say is this. We're going to try this again, and then if this format works, we'll go with this, and then Friday we will do another, or Friday or Saturday we'll do another video. Most likely Friday, because I like the results from Friday. What we're going to talk about today is what I talked about in that video that was poor sound and quality, but let's get past that, okay? We're not here to cut to the chase. Modern MDL is his initials. I can't remember. He was on the Whatever podcast. And long story short, a woman asked him on that podcast, stupid Whatever podcast, I don't give a damn. I really don't give a damn. But there's a premise of the point. The Whatever podcast brought up how a woman and a man should not divorce unless adultery was committed. Anything else? The MDL's exact words were, just endure it. Just endure it. So just endure it, huh? Okay? And she even brought up, what if one mate has an act of physical violence against the other, and his response was, just endure it. Well, Mr. Endure It, I will find your channel. I will make sure you get this video. I didn't find your channel last time. This time I will. Mr. Endure It guy, this is for you. And hopefully I have better sound quality this time, unlike last time. So we're going to go over 1994. And like I mentioned in the last video, I'm breaking this up to 13 parts. And it is going to go over a lot of the things that I did endure. So Mr. Endure It guy, this is for you. Just keep that in mind. And I want to set the table on what was going on in my life in 1994. I had been with my brother and sister-in-law at their house and stuff like that for about, 8 months. And trying to adjust back to civilian life after 2+ years in the military. There's only one thing I can say about that, and that's the principle that there are things that happen for a reason. Was I supposed to go through some crazy mess? I don't know. But to set the table and give you proper context leading up to the things that would happen in 1994 from May to December, I had been living with them for 8 months. I had been long story short, I need to do a story about this. Because there's things I can do, and there's things I can't. That maybe it was me needing to grow up. Maybe it was me needing to learn some stuff. But who knows? But here we are. 1994. May of that year, I took a walk in a mall area, and the mall area was next to a Walmart, and there were 2 recruiters out there, and they asked me if I wanted to go back into the Army. And at first, I said, well, I had already gotten out of the Army, and I wouldn't say it left a nasty taste in my mouth. It was just one of those factors that, well, I'm not sure if I want to go back. Well, the recruiter gave me his card, and I took it. And they said, well, if you're serious, let us know. And I'm here to tell you, the next 30 days of that endeavor would decide how things would play out over a course of 13 years. And when I get further into different parts of this series, I'm going to go over how there were times things were good, and there were times I had to raise some question marks. And that's how the cookie crumbled. I kept his card for about 3 days. And I think, long story short, what my brother and sister-in-law did pushed me to that direction. I didn't want to. But sometimes when you're made to do something, it happens. So I told the recruiter, hey, get me back in. Let's see what we can do. They found a place. It was in Fort Campbell. I said, okay, no problem. What do we do now? And he goes, well, we got to get you to Kansas City so you can get another physical to see if you're still up to snuff still. Everything happened so quickly. I'd say within 2 days after that call, I went back to Kansas City. Brother and sister-in-law were already upset that I was going back. Don't care. Didn't care then, don't care now. Before I left for Kansas City, I did something. Now, they didn't quite have the internet back then, but they had something of that time in 1994. And that of that time was basically relationship ads where you can call people on the telephone, leave your message. The newspaper company would in turn get your ad and stuff like that, even from the phone, in different ways. And I set it up and everything was good. Didn't get a message, didn't get nothing before I left. Left for Kansas City. They found a flaw in one of my eyes, corrected that issue with corrective glasses. Congratulations, we'll be in touch. Get back to where my home, and I get back and there's a message. And it had a young lady on there. Well, ladies gave her schematics on who she was, where she was at, you know, single, this and that. So it took me a couple days to respond, but I finally responded. So we set up a meeting to meet each other. And then eventually it'll lead to a date. I met her. You know, when there are red flags put in front of you, of certain things you shouldn't do, you should listen to those red flags. But that damn L, I'll tell you, that L word, and you'll hear me here reference that L word. You know what L word is? The L word that associates with red hearts. Okay? But going forward, got a date, went on a movie, everything looked good, everything looked promising. To me, anyway. And then one thing led to another. Then June would come up. Still didn't hear nothing from the military. They said, we'll still be in touch. Things have to play out. Okay? And then me and her got close and emotional and things like that. I learned she had some problems. And I was not going to let these problems interfere with what I wanted to do. So I basically told her, look, I understand you like that party life. You need to make a choice. It's either going to be that or me. You need to decide. And I wasn't sure if she was serious about this. So I continued to let stuff play out that year. Towards the end of June, I had decided to move out of my brother and sister-in-law's place. And on the 1st of July, I made a conscious decision. You know what? We're done here. That's it. Along that time frame, we had grown into a serious relationship, and we got intimate, if that's what you want me to call it on my end, as she finds out she's pregnant. So knowing me, I do the most serious thing I could do. So you know what? If this is indeed a serious thing, then I need to propose. A bad habit that I started doing around that time was missing work. Now there was one particular instance I didn't want to miss work. And it was a red flag, I might add. She started acting like, don't you want to spend time with me? And I said, we got to get income in here. Well, don't you want to spend time with me? It's like, okay. Didn't think nothing of it. Fast forward towards the middle or end of July, and I wanted to put my paperwork in at the city building to get married. She wanted our wedding on my birthday, and I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why. And I went down there finally, got it done, and they go, yeah, can't do it on your birthday. The soonest we can do it is this date, which is the 22nd. And the minute I had to tell her, she blew a gasket. That was another red flag. As you're going to see in 1994, the red flags are going to essentially set the stage for what I'm enduring. And long story short, there's one thing I'm going to say. Had I been a little more alert and not seduced by the L word, it wouldn't be so bad. But I was seduced by the L word. And long story short, I don't know. I probably would have avoided some things had I been a little more aware. But back to the issue at hand. We're now coming up into August, and recruiter calls me back and says, hey, they need you to leave out this date. And I said, well, I need to spend more time with the young lady I got with here. We're getting married on this date and blah, blah, blah. He says, fine, but I will let you know when the actual date they want you there. And he says, try not to make it too many more commitments because you're locked in now. You're signed with Uncle Sam. And we need to make this happen. And I said, I totally get it. So, moving forward here, we enter towards August of that year. And more red flags would start to come up. There were times she got a little pushy. And I didn't understand why. I really didn't. It wasn't so much scared me, it concerned me. And I kind of wondered what was going to come out of it. And long story short, I wouldn't say we would get into arguments, but it got to a point where I wasn't sure how to approach these things. And in a future video live feed, I will talk to you about further part into my past when I saw interactions between my mom and dad. So we get towards August. And I get a call from the recruiter. They said, hey, August 22nd, you need to be on a bus. And I say this was about the first or second week of August. And more red flags popped up because she started having issues. She started having fits. When I get into 1995, I'm going to tell you about how I was pulled into the middle of a conflict between an individual and an entity. But I said, look, I got to leave out. There's no getting around it. And she kept saying, can you ask for more time? And I said, no. They done told me no. Well, you need to ask them. I mean, she would persistently push me to do stuff. Even after I told her no. I mean, she was persistent. And in future videos, I will talk to you about how persistent this got with her. It was almost an obsession. But we get to the deal. We get to August 22nd. We get married. She's nervous. We have our dinner. And then the recruiter calls me and says, hey, your bus leaves out around 4:30. If you need me to take you, I can. I said, yeah, we're having transportation issues. Please help me. And he did. Little did I know that this sets a stage on more red flags that would come up. And when I mean red flags, I'm talking literal red flags. The red flags I'm referring to are as follows. I would get on that bus. She was not feeling it by having me leave out that bus. She was mad. I know she was mad. I said, I have to go. Serving my country is priority here. I have to do it. and 20-hour bus ride to Fort Campbell. That bird right there is in Fort Campbell, by the way. And long story short, I went to a processing station, and then I got my papers for my where I would be serving. Then I got a call that day from her mom. Mom was pretty upset, not at me for once, thank goodness. She was upset that later that evening she partied it up and got drunk. She had our child and just partying it up, no problem. Of course, of 2 weeks from the time I got there to 2 weeks later, so that puts it around September. Doing things, interacting with the people I'm supposed to be interacting with, I get a call. Specialist Johnson, there's an emergency. You need to look into this. Apparently, while I was gone, and take this for what you will, because I don't know. The only one that knows is her. She said her ex-boyfriend, who had abused her in a past relationship, had come around, pushed her, and miscarried our kid. I don't know how to think about that one. But what? So long story short, they put me in through emergency leave, and it was only for like, I want to say 10 days, 2 weeks tops. It wasn't long because I had already gotten there. I hadn't built enough leave to even leave out yet, but I left out. I get home. She's asking me about the place. She's asking me about the money. She's asking me about what I think about her. And I'm sitting here going, I still love and care for you. It's almost as if she didn't believe me when I said that. And that's another problem that I will talk about in this mini series of videos. It'll be something I will talk about because that's very important. When I bring up things, I will bring up how in relationships, especially abusive ones, there are certain habits they will do to keep you in check. She was mad, she was angry, she didn't believe that I cared for her. She was even madder that I did not send her money, which was yet another red flag. And I'm sitting here going, what am I supposed to do here? And I'll tell you what people are supposed to do. See the red flags. That damn L word, I tell you, that damn L word will seduce you like crazy and not let you see the things you need to see. But as we're going, I go back, okay? This is, by this point, mid-September, 94. I get back there, she said, look, you need to get a place. And she was talking about how she didn't want to leave her town, but I'll do what you want me to do. Okay. We'll see. And long story short, I get back there. Now, at this point in my life, I'm not exactly the most responsible person money-wise ever. Spent it like crazy. Didn't save for a place. Didn't do this, didn't do that. That was on me. Not saying that's wrong. I'm admitting guilt. And there would be times I would have conversations with her on the phone, and for some reason I would say the wrong word that would trigger the hell out of her and make her mad. I'm talking goes ballistic. Demeans me by saying this. That's not the L word. That's psychological warfare. Now I'm going back over it almost 30 years later. And believe me, in those same videos, I will talk to you about the different kinds of psychological warfare she would use on me and others to isolate me from others. I'm not making that up either. So we get into November. I get there. And she gets there. She traveled by bus. I had to put her up in a hotel. Well, you need to be spending time with me. Well, I have my duties with this. Well, apparently I'm not important enough. And then she rolled my case about me not saving money. Now, granted, that's my fault, like I said, but more red flags will pop up with this relationship. I'm sitting here going, what do you want me to do? She goes, we'll find a way. Okay. I'll do what I can. I can't do much until next month, but I can do something. And I will try. So as we get in towards the end of October and into November, I had to get a place. I even had to sell stuff just to come up with enough money to make sure we got the place, got the apartment, got the deposit, got everything, got the electric and things turned on. And I said, okay, I'm here. I got it. Come on down. So she gets a moving truck with stuff. I think she finally made it around December and got there. And I had forgotten a crucial factor in all this, because I asked my chain of command, hey, if she has a moving truck down here, will you pay for the expenses? Absolutely. We'll take care of it. She gets down here with her sister and her sister's boyfriend. They help move, which I commend them. I have no issue or grievance with them. And when they get down here, or Fort Campbell, I should say, sorry, they get all moved. I said, do you have paperwork? And they said, sure, we got it. There was just one problem. The rental truck was in her sister's name. And I asked the people at the PAC, or whatever it's called, hey, are you going to be able to pay for this? And they said, no, we can't. If it's not in your name or your wife's name, no. So that was money wasted. She got mad at me for that. That's why I said, already 1994, and I'm being put in the middle here. Got enough stress going on. I don't need no more. They're trying to get me in the air assault school. They're trying to get me prepared for a deployment, but they left me behind because I wasn't air assault qualified. So, long story short, my platoon leader, who was a second lieutenant, he made it his personal mission to try to get me prepared, i.e. physically, for air assault school. Because the first day is the big test. You must pass the inspection. After the inspection, there's a physical obstacle course you must endure. You don't pass that, you don't go any further into that air assault school. It's only 10 days, and it's tough and rigorous. And as I get into 1995, I'll explain to you how I got further into the air assault school, and then I got yanked out. So November, get everything moved. No money there. December comes. We're able to send her sister and brother and her sister's boyfriend back. So it's just me and her. Intimacy during that time was the most confusing time in my life. Physically, I felt like I could do no wrong. And then mentally, as this is playing out, she uses the intimacy as a psychological tool, not keeping it from me. But when I do bad, and I'm not going to go into details what the bad is, but when I do bad, she scolded me. She did not like the idea that I was there all the time in my unit. Oh, there's nothing I can do about that. I serve Uncle Sam. What do you want me to do? And believe me, in 95, that becomes a bigger problem. That becomes a far bigger problem. Then we get into December. She wanted a car. And I've taken the advice of my unit. Be careful who you deal with. Be careful of these car lots. Be careful of what condition the car is in. Looks may be deceiving, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I was wanting a four-door vehicle, like a Saturn. Back then, those Saturns I liked. Little did I know, 2 years later, from that point, I would learn how Saturns weren't all that in a bag of chips. She wanted a Mustang. We saw one from this car lot. And then when I get into 95, that would be another deal I bring up, how that just went sideways. But the bedroom would basically be a battleground for mental warfare. I'll get into that as we go through the miniseries. So she wanted to hurry up. It's like, what's taking so long? Process the paperwork and all that. I go, this takes time. It's not that simple. Well, they need to hurry up. They, as in the Army. That's why I said, you think it's bad now? 95, it gets worse. And I'm put in the middle. There's nothing I can do. And I remember her driving that car a week after we got it, and she gets pulled over by, I think the name of the town was Cotton Grove. Either Cotton Grove, Tennessee, or Cotton Grove, Kentucky. I can't remember, because Fort Campbell is right on the border between Kentucky and Tennessee. So I can't remember which state that little community was. But she got pulled over by Council Grove. They said, well, Mrs. Johnson, your license is suspended in Kansas. He goes, we're going to give you a ticket, but you cannot be driving in this state. You need to appear in court, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I remember the first time, and that was one of the first times. So I get behind the wheel and I tell her, look, you can't be doing this here. Please don't do it. And the next thing I feel is a punch into my gut. And I'm not talking a soft punch. I mean, literally, she put full force into that punch. And the following came out of her mouth right after the punch. My father doesn't tell me what to do. What makes you think you will? And I'm sitting here going, what the hell is that about? I'm just warning you what you shouldn't be doing. She didn't care. No, she didn't care. Punch into the stomach. It hurt. Even with my physical, keeping my physical appearance up, that hurt. And leading up to New Year's of 1994, I said, look, there's a party we have to go to. I want to go interact with these people. They're good people. There was one particular sergeant I didn't get along with because me and him would butt heads. And there was a reason why. So we went to the party. She didn't want his alcohol. She didn't want any of their alcohol. She picked her own. She bought her own. I think it was basically her way of knowing who the people I would have to work with are and know who she can push over and who she couldn't. And believe me, when I get into 95, she will put a lot of this to the test to see if she can get away. It wasn't right. We left that party early. We went and got said dinner and called it a night. And guys, I'm going to leave it right there because that's in 1994. Like I said, oh, by the way, there's some things I missed out on all this, okay? Back in the 90s, I was heavy into video games. I will tell you this. She did not like the idea of video games over her. In fact, she flat said, if you don't stop playing those video games, I'm going to throw the damn thing out the window. And when we needed money, guess what would be the items that she would pawn or have me pawn off? The video games. As we get into 1995, around Friday or Saturday, I'm going to tell you some things that she did I did not like it all. But if I was to confront her about it, it would create problems. And there were 3 different times I did. And like usual, it created problems. And not just an argumentative problem. So I'm going to close it out with this. I know that L word is a seductive word. But if you're in a relationship, I'm not going to tell you what MDL tells people. Just endure it. No. You need to get help. And as I go into 1995, there's a crucial thing I learned in that lesson. How there are certain entities that do not know how to react to domestic violence on men. I'm not talking about women. They have no problem helping them. But when it comes to men, they act like they don't know what to do. And this is a serious problem. Serious problem in the military. I hope they've evolved since 1995. That's the short version I'll tell you. But the things I keep seeing, I doubt it. Please get this video out there. I need people to see it just so they're so aware. But when it comes to domestic violence awareness, if you know someone out there that is with a partner or a spouse, and it doesn't have to be a woman that's being victimized. For the men, you're not alone. I've been in your shoes. Don't be afraid. If you need help, tell someone, please. And to the MDL guy, I did endure it. And look what it got me. And you're just starting to see the foundation of 12 other videos that I'm going to have to put out talking about a part of my life. It ain't so much I regret it. I went through a lot of hell and a lot of pain. And in part 3, I'm going to show you how bad that pain got. Please subscribe to my channel. Push the button notification on any future videos you get. Leave a like in the video and tell me your thoughts on this video. I don't know what the chats are going with because I'd rather not. At some point in this endeavor, I might look through the chat to see what people are saying. And with that being said, the few of you that did come on here, thank you very much. Oh, and remember, this all took place in that spot there. Thank you.